she should. I am worried she can have her friends. She's trying to please everyone.
It's too fast for me. I mean, God, here's Ben, I'm getting married. I mean, well, okay.
I am very curious as to what made the producers think that Sara was the right person to choose to be one of the married couples, or to choose as to be one of the people to follow in the experiment. Because at the end of the day, she seems as though her ideas, her values, her beliefs are aligned with whatever the sister and her partner believes. And it seems the sister believes in whatever her partner believes. Anyway, I digress. Am I the only one who's confused as to why we needed episodes and episodes of Devon and Virginia going back and forth about this prenup? Because at the end of the day, you had, Devon sign the prenup. So what was the point? And I love Taylor and Daniel, in my opinion, are the ones that have carried this season. They really are, because they've been trouble-free. They've just focused on themselves, and they've really sort of silenced the outside noise, which I really love for them. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love is Blind, Season 8, Episode 12. So you have Taylor and Daniel go ice skating. I loved it. You could tell that Taylor had done this a couple of times, or this is something that she had done she must have been trained in it because of how sort of elegantly she moved across the floor. And I love that Daniel tried his best to make sure that he kept up with her. I now get why Daniel's parents said he's the most sort of even-keeled guy ever, because of how he was very steady. Yes, he wasn't stable on his feet. You could tell he's done skating before, but I don't think he's as confident, or maybe he might not have skated for a bit. But the fact that he also made sure to keep an eye to make sure that his partner was safe, and when you had, Taylor fall, he ran over immediately to pick her up, I thought was the cutest thing ever. And then you had, them sit down for a meal, and they were just talking about the fact that Taylor was saying, this is an ideal dream to get to skate with her partner and then sit down for a meal on the ice. It seems this might have been something she did. She must have done a lot of skating as a child because of the sentiment it held for her. I loved their conversations. One thing about Taylor and Daniel that you can't knock from them is they've silenced the noise. They've chosen each other. They had an issue at the start. Daniel didn't let that sort of derail them. He didn't keep harping on Taylor that, oh, you accused me of being fake, you accused me. No, he realized this is the girl he wanted and he ran with it. And you have Taylor now telling him that I am the luckiest girl in the world. I don't know what I did to deserve you, because I don't think there are many people like you. And I love this for her. I really do. I always love a successful couple. You had Monica and Joey go to some sort of botanical garden. It was cute. I really liked it. I felt the ambience was amazing. So they sat down for a dinner, and Monica was saying, she used to come with her parents. This is something that they did a lot while she was growing up. So this, holds some sort of sentimental value to her. This is why it was important for her to go there for her last date before marriage with her husband. And she was talking about the fact that she's very nervous because she doesn't know whether Joey feels the same way about her that she feels about him. And it's like, I don't know about Joey. I really am side-eyeing him because I have a feeling Joey's just there to be on TV. He's going to say and do everything to get clout, and he's going to be the sweetest and nicest guy ever, but he's not going to be serious. I get where her anxiety is coming from. I get why Monica is anxious that he might not feel about her the same way she does about him. I think one of the reasons is he might have been put off by her sister, the way her sister said, he's too perfect. He looks like he's acting up. He's not serious. He looks like everything he's reading from a script. And I think that was off-putting for him. I don't know whether he got the ick on anything else, but you had Monica complaining that, he doesn't give me the reassurance that I need. And she was trying to tell him that, I don't want to be comparing our relationship to everybody else. I want us to be on our own path. And this was the moment that Joey should have stepped up to sort of reassure her, but he didn't. He just sat there and he was just smiling. And for me, I then question, are you in love with this woman, or are you just doing this to be on camera and to get a good edit? Something about him is a bit off. I agree with Monica's sister that something about Joey is a bit off. But somehow I have a feeling that because Monica put so much emphasis on how important it was for Joey to get her sister's approval, Joey was put off. I think going to the family house, getting to play with those little trinkets and finding out about the sock box and whatever else just gave him the ache with his OCD, and is checked out and is just waiting for final vows so he can say no. I'll be surprised if you say yes, but I have a feeling he's going to say no, just like she is going to say no. So you have Ben and Sarah, they go glamping. They sort of going to sleep in this igloo sort of looking place, and they get to sit down and just have drinks and just chat and sort of have their dinner around a fire pit. And so the conversation starts. This is what I'm going to say. As far as I'm concerned, Sarah, I feel, didn't like this man and wanted to be on the show. Because at the end of the day, you can't tell me that in the pods they spoke for hours on end and left the pods as a couple only for her to turn around and say, well, I am worried because I listened to a sermon from your church and it doesn't seem they're accepting of gay people. And it's like, Sarah, are you more worried about his church, or you're more worried about him, the person? Is Ben the person that doesn't believe in or doesn't value or respect gay people? Which is it? I didn't get it. And it seems she's championing her sister's war more than she is championing for her relationship. This is what I get. She's fighting for her sister's relationship more than she's fighting for the person that she claims to love. Because the idea that she's felt like they weren't very clear about their messaging, the church wasn't clear as to whether or not they accept gay people because they gave an example and she didn't agree with the example that, I can, if somebody comes to me and says, oh, I'm a bit chubby, I need to cut down on my food, I should say, no, you're not, you should do what makes you happy. And it's like, at the end of the day, if Ben and Sarah had a child that was gay and Ben was going against that, it's one thing. They are talking about gay people because her sister's gay. So she's decided to put the value of her sister's relationship over her relationship with her husband. If that man was telling her, I don't like the way you look, I don't like the way you dress, I don't like the way you walk, it's one thing. He said he's accepting of all people and he believes all people deserve to be happy. What more does she want from him? I get a feeling she's just saying this just because she's looking for an excuse or a reason so that she can say no, because otherwise there is no other justifiable reason as to why she keeps going on and on and on about the fact that, your church doesn't accept gay people. So I don't know how I feel about that. I was hoping to find a man that I'll take to pride with me. Maybe you should either date someone who's bi, or you should have discussed this in the pods, and you should not have left the pods with Ben if you felt that he didn't value your beliefs. It comes across as though you agreed to his proposal just because you wanted to be on TV, and that's all. You didn't agree to his proposal because you loved him, but you agreed to his proposal because you wanted to be on TV, and this is why we're here. They go into the igloo, they're busy yapping on, and she's telling him how much she loves him. They're having drinks, they're relaxed. Nobody has ever made me feel the way I feel. And it's like, well, if that's the case, why are we then going on and hammering him on about his church? How would you feel if tables were turned and he turned around and said, I don't believe that people, they should be anything like gay or whatever, so I don't want you to believe it? How would you feel? Make that make sense? This is my question to Sarah, because we can only control how we feel, how we behave, how we talk. We can't control the other person. So I can only imagine the outro or the uproar if Ben were to say the things that Sarah's saying about her beliefs, whether she would still be there smiling and grinning her teeth. You have Virginia and Devon, they go on a horse carriage ride before they go in for dinner. And you have, Virginia saying that, we haven't spoken about the prenup since the last time I brought it up to him. And I don't know where we stand when it comes to the prenup. And it's like the show makes you sign prenups before you get married. And then you can always get a postnup once you've gotten married. On Married at First Sight, they do that for a fact. I know that. So the idea that this is now the hill that you've chosen to sort of die on, I don't get it. Devon, on his part, he brought her gifts. He brought her a basketball, because she told him that, she could see herself cheering for him and his team. So he decided to bring her a basketball, Team Devon. And he also got some t-shirts printed for himself and for her, some basketball jerseys. That was the cutest thing ever. I don't know what's going on because when you look at the couples, especially Monica and Joey, Ben and Sarah, and Devon and Virginia, you can tell that one of them is not in it for the right reasons. One of them is not in it. Joey, I don't know whether he's not in it for the right reason, but I'm side-eyeing him. And then you have Sarah. Sarah is just there to champion her sister's cause. That's the impression that I get. She's there to champion her sister's cause, and as long as that gets her where she wants to, she's happy. And Virginia, I don't think is as into this man as she makes out, because she calls him the best man ever. You know, he makes me feel special, valued, and whatever. And then she'll come back and say, oh, what about the prenup? And then he brought her the gifts, and you could tell she was excited, but I don't know how much she was that excited. You can already tell by looking at the couples who's going to say yes and who's going to say no, because of the way they communicate with one another, because of the way that they have chosen to sort of prioritize themselves over their partners. You can tell who's not going to make it. This is my biggest pet peeve for Love is Blind. I haven't noticed it on Married at First Sight, but mainly for Love is Blind, in the sense that the budget always goes to the guys. I don't know whether it's because their suits are not as expensive or whatever for the weddings, but the budget always gets to go to the guys, because you have the guys go to the Vikings training camp, and yet the girls are taken to Mall of America and they get to sort of ride, that merry-go-round thing on horses and stuff, and then they get on this little roller coaster looking bit, and that's it. And yet the guys got to get jerseys, they got to train, and this is my biggest pet peeve with Love is Blind. Anyway, the guys really have a great time, and I feel sad for Daniel because he really struggled to score a point, which was really bad given the fact that he said he was a football fan. And just like that, producers are always going to embarrass you, which was really sad. The girls, they went dressed as the old lady gang, and I loved it. Taylor went all out, even with as far as to put on a nasal spec. I just like, Taylor, what do you need oxygen for? That I loved. I loved the way they went all out, and it was really cute. They seemed to enjoy themselves, and so it was nice to see the ladies just relax and let loose. There wasn't any conversations about, what's going on with your marriage or whatever. I think the producers are trying to sort of weed out their necessary bits. I think they've seen a lot of complaints from viewers that some of the stuff is unnecessary. I wish some of this stuff had been taken out and we'd had more conversations from different couples in the pods. I wish we hadn't just focused on the couples that we did, the couples that were going to say yes, but I wish we had actually got to see more couples and got to see how they navigated or how they came to the decision that they were going to say yes on wedding day. That would have been amazing to see. That would have given us insight into these couples, because especially this season, the couples are very boring and they're very bland. So I wish we had got to see the couples instead of some of the stuff that they've shown us. So you have Devon and Virginia. Finally, Devon and Virginia sit down and they go through their prenup. Devon explains his understanding of the prenup and the fact that he had a family lawyer look at the prenup, and so he agrees with it and he agrees to sign. What do I think? I think this was just for storyline. I think they didn't have any problems amongst the two of them, and so production needed something for them to sort of sink their teeth into. It seems like Virginia and Devon got along very well, or tried to put on the best front possible, and so because there was no drama, the producers needed something to show as drama, and this is why they focused on the prenup situation, because we all know the show would get them to sign prenups. They wouldn't just get strangers to get married without a prenup, because at the end of the day, if anything goes wrong, those people can come back and sue the show and say, you introduced me to this man or this woman, and this is where we are financially. I'm struggling because they're taking me to the cleaners. So I don't think the show would want someone to get married to someone without a prenup. I think this is a requirement. I don't know about Love is Blind, but I know definitely for Married at First Sight, it is a requirement. So first to get married are Ben and Sarah. Ben and Sarah, for me, I don't even know how they've managed to get to the very end. I would have thought that they would have, fallen apart when the gossip came out about his ex sort of on social media saying that he's a bad guy and he's being allowed to sort of go on a show and date somebody else. We get to see their journey in the pods, how they connected. I still feel like their biggest elephant in the room was the situation with Sarah saying she wants someone who believes in gay people, someone who believes they have rights and whatever, because it seems that's the only sort of thing thing that she's championing. She hasn't championed everything else about women's rights or anything. All she's spoken about is the fact that, you know, she wants a church that is accepting because her sister is gay. And so, yes, she says she's very close to her sister, but I don't think that should be reason enough for her to choose a partner based on what is best for her sister, because at the end of the day, she is the one who gets to live with this man. You have the sister and her partner come with her mum. Am I the only one who noticed the tension? I don't think the mum loves the sister's partner. I really don't, because every time the sister and the partner said something, the mother was sort of counteracting it, because they tried to talk about religion and the fact that, you know, Sara didn't understand where Ben stood, whether he would be able to respect her values, in the sense that, you know, she values and she champions for everyone to be treated equally. And so I didn't quite get that. And then they spoke about the church, and her mom asked her, if you went to church with Ben, are you going to come to church with me next? And she sort of chewed her mouth and and the sister and the partner, you could tell, were not on board with the church. And it's like, what has, you know, Sara going to church got to do with you? What Sara believes has nothing to do with you as a couple. You are the two people that are in your couple. If you like each other and if you believe you have rights and values that you want to respect, amazing. That should have nothing to do with Sara. You then have the sister and her partner having a conversation, and they're sort of saying that, you know, Sara needs to do what's in her best interest. She shouldn't listen to anyone. And it's like, at the end of the day, you people parroted whatever you believed when you first met Ben and you're talking about gay rights and whatever. How would you have felt had Ben come and done the exact opposite? Had he turned around and come in and started saying, oh, you know, in Christianity, this is not allowed, that is not allowed. But no, he came, he was open-minded. You have been shallow-minded because you've wanted people to accept you, but you haven't bothered to think, what about, you know, Ben, what about his beliefs, what about his values? Her stepdad came. I loved it. I thought it was the cutest thing ever. Ben had his friends come and sit with him, and they were championing his relationship with Sara. It seemed his friends really like Sara and they really want this for him to work. So he seemed very relaxed and very laid back, Ben. I don't know whether it's a front or what exactly is going on there. I don't get it. Sara's stepdad is having a conversation with Sara and sort of reminiscing on the first time he met her, the fact that he had to explain SpongeBob SquarePants to her, and now, you know, he's there for her on her wedding day, which was the cutest thing ever. She was walked down the aisle by her stepdad, and her stepdad tried to sort of explain to her about the values of marriage and what it entails, and it seemed Sara's confused. Sara was on the show to be on the show. I don't think Sara was on the show to be married. I think she was on the show to be on the show, because at the end of the day, her decision, in my opinion, is going to be driven by her sister and her sister's partner. And we all know that her sister believes in whatever her partner believes in. So at the end of the day, I don't know. I really don't know why Sara even bothered going on the show if she knew she didn't have her own values, beliefs, and sort of her own mind to make a choice. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 11. Bye guys.